What's up guys, we've spent the last 24 hours playing an absolute ton of Destiny 2, and while the game is massive and everyone's characters are going to play a little differently, we found a few techniques that are really going to help you in those early hours. If you're totally new to Destiny, these tips and tricks should help you level up a bit faster and get your head around the combat. If you're a pro, Destiny 2 does some things differently to the first game, so hopefully you can pick up some good advice too. As always, please make sure to add your own advice down in the comments below. I'm really keen to hear your tips, but anyway, let's get going. If you're completely new to Destiny, you might not know that each enemy has a weak spot. Shoot them in this special place and you'll do more damage. You can tell when you've hit it as the damage indicator numbers will be yellow instead of white. Now, for most enemies, the weak point is the head. If you're fighting the Fallen, who are the guys with the 4 arms, or the Hive, just aim for the face. The big enemies of Destiny 2, the Red Legion, also need to be shot in the face, though there are also a few other weak spots. The Legionnaires can also be shot in their jetpacks for some tasty yellow damage, and the fiery Incendiors will explode if you keep targeting their fuel tanks on their backs. If you kill an Incendior without detonating his fuel tank, the tank will actually fall to the ground, where it could be shot and made to explode, hurting any enemies nearby. It's worth remembering if you get yourself in a bit of a tight spot. But the one enemy faction that you don't want to shoot in the head are the Vex. Take off a Vex Goblin's head and his body becomes a rampaging death machine, running at you and potentially doing a lot more damage. Instead, you want to focus on the white crystal shape in its belly, and when you encounter the stronger hobgoblins, you'll want to focus on shooting that crystal as fast as possible. If you give these guys a chance to drop into their shielded position, they can regenerate all their health, so focus on picking them off one at a time. As a general rule, we tend to use our kinetic weapons for these grunts. This is the gun in the top slot of the inventory screen and uses white ammo boxes. Bungie says that kinetic weapons do the most damage when you land critical hits to weak spots, so you'll be using this for a large chunk of the time. Of course, your energy weapon is useful for our next tip. Not all enemies are going to politely stand by and let you pour lead into their faces. Stronger foes hide behind elemental shields that absorb huge amounts of damage if not taken care of. Your energy weapons are more effective against shields than kinetic weapons, but it's much better to hit it with the elemental ammo of the same type. Break a shield this way and it stuns the enemy behind the shield and does damage to his nearby allies. In other words, it turns a shield into a small explosion, which can only be a good thing. For a blue arc shield, you need a gun that does arc damage. On the inventory screen, its attack value will be in blue. For an orange solar shield, you need a weapon with orange solar damage. And for a purple void shield, you need, you guessed it, a weapon with purple void damage. Kinetic weapons don't have these elemental mods, so you'll need to look to your energy and power weapons to deplete the shields. For starters, you want to amass a collection of weapons that covers all 3 shield types. You can either rely on random loot drops in the EDZ patrol zone, or by purchasing a specific weapon from one of the many vendors. Once you've got a gun of each type, it's a case of knowing when to use them. Personally, we try to cover our bases by arming our Guardian with an energy and power weapon with different elemental damages. This way you will always be able to take down 2 of the 3. In the early stages of the game, we came across more arc and solar shields, so we used an arc energy weapon and a solar power weapon. Of course, as each enemy type uses a particular shield, you can predict what weapon you need for each fight. If you're going up against the Red Legion, you know the Centurions use solar shields, so pick a solar energy weapon. If it's a Fallen quest such as the early Spark mission, you want to pack an arc weapon as the captains use these. Whatever you do, don't waste ammo pumping kinetic weapons into shields. This is a fast route to death. It doesn't take much time with Destiny 2 to learn that the game can be a little stingy with some of your best attacks. Super abilities look cool as hell, who wouldn't want to fire out blades of fire from the sky, but you really have to make them count. Your super abilities take several minutes to charge, and power weapons, which include guns like shotguns, sniper rifles and rocket launchers, have very limited ammo drops. The question with both of these attacks is when to use them. For us, the best method has been saving both for tougher enemies and bosses. When your super ability meter is charged, don't take that as an invitation to fire it into the nearest grunt. Save it until there is a health bar that's actually worth hacking away at speed. Power weapons are slightly less precious. For starters, they do elemental damage, so don't be afraid to use them to blast away at enemy shields as outlined in the last tip. Secondly, one really good way of replenishing power ammo is to kill an elite enemy. These are any enemy that has a yellow health bar and a specific name. As they drop power ammo, there is less risk of using power ammo on them. Fire that power weapon into crowds of grunts and there's a smaller chance you'll get your ammo back, leaving you struggling when you finally meet something a bit tougher. Leveling up in Destiny is unusual because you're judged by two criteria. There's your traditional level increase of experience and your power rating, which is defined by the attack and defense values of your weapons and armor. For the sake of this video, we're looking at the traditional level, as the power value comes more into play later on in the game. Everything you do in Destiny 2 feeds you experience, whether it's killing one lone dreg or doing any missions or side activities. But if you're looking to level up quickly in these opening hours, we recommend spending some time on patrol in the EDZ. Patrol is basically free roam mode in the open world where you can sniff out secret loot and take on side missions. For the big experience payday, you want to go after public events. These are group tasks that spawn around the map and ask you to do things like taking out a fallen drilling team or stopping an arms deal. They're great for leveling because they bring stronger enemies into the map and reward you with a loot chest for participating. To find a public event, open up the director and you can see where and when they're about to kick off. Following these around for an hour, we'll see your level jump up pretty fast, but it can go even quicker. Every public event has a secret criteria that can upgrade it into a heroic event. These are much harder, but the rewards are greater. For example, during the Crucible excavation public event, you'll spot this red ship flying by the area, shoot it down, and you'll trigger the arrival of the excavation ballast boss. It's a harder fight, but the rewards are far greater, and it's a great way to start zipping up the ranks. One of the biggest improvements in Destiny 2 is the selection of side activities hidden across the map. All of these are great for experience and loot, making exploration the ideal way to punch up your character in those early hours. For more efficient exploration, you want to enlist the help of Dead Zone Scout Devrim K. You'll find this rugged chap up in the church tower when you first arrive in the EDZ. I kind of feel bad for the guy, having to live up here all by himself for the rest of his life, so be a nice person and do some favors for him. He'll give you adventures which are short side missions. More importantly, you can also level up your reputation with him in exchange for EDZ tokens. You collect these tokens as random loot drops and are handed over to Devrim by approaching him in his tower. Fill the reputation bar and you're given some high power loot. It's too high for our low level guardian at this early point in the game, but Devrim also marks the map with more side activities. The important icons to look out for are the chests and the Lost Sector banners. These show you where you can find hidden chests in the open world and where you can find lost sectors. These are mini dungeons that end with a boss fight and more valuable loot. As with the public events, these are really great for leveling up your character quickly, as you're getting experience from wiping out stronger enemies and you're also getting better gear to make the whole process easier. And you make Devrim happy. And isn't that what's most important in life? Making Devrim happy. Our final bit of advice is ultra simple. Don't forget to play the Crucible. Player versus player multiplayer may not be everyone's bag, but it is one of the better ways of unlocking rarer loot early on in the game. Crucible unlocks before you gain access to the patrol, so why not jump in for a couple of games and swipe yourself a better gun and armor to take with you on patrol. Hey, you may even find that you really like Crucible now. The 4v4 team sizes make it a much more tactical game than ever before. We're having an absolute ton of fun with it, so make sure you do give it a go. So there we have it. Those are our 5 tips that we think will really help you get to grips with Destiny 2. Of course, with so much character development down to random loot drops, everyone's story is going to unfold slightly differently. But these tips have certainly helped us in the early hours of the game. Please do make sure to let us know your own tips down in the comments below. And if you have any questions, write them below as well, and we'll try our best to answer them. And if you've been enjoying our Destiny videos, do make sure to subscribe to Xbox On and give the video a thumbs up. Thanks for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye!